afternoon. I'm Risa Sreeden Prince, and today it's my pleasure to speak with Alex Brown, the newly elected Hilton Head Town Council member representing Ward 1. Alex, thank you for joining me. For those who don't know you, would you please share a little bit about yourself, your family history, and where you work?
Sure. Again, Alexander Brown Jr., born and raised here on Hilton Head in one of the historic Gullah neighborhoods called Chaplin. My family has been here over 7 generations. My great-great-grandfather had the pleasure of not just being enslaved, but more importantly, freed from slavery, fighting in the Civil War, and able to purchase property at that time. And we are still in ownership of that property here on Hilton Head. For a living, I am the Vice President of Operations for a company called Camp Hilton Head. Local business, been in business actually 40 years now, going into 2021, and I've been there for close to 30 years.
I know you've participated in the MLK weekend for years. In what ways have you been inspired by Dr. King's work and legacy?
Sure. Yeah, I've been involved for a long time, actually. I can remember when I was in high school, I played in the marching band, so one of the first MLK marches that we did, we played the song that Stevie Wonder wrote, "Happy Birthday to You," about 100 times, marching from the high school over through 278 down Main Street and back. Yes, I've been involved in this event for a very long time. Later on in life, found myself serving on the MLK planning committee, and left there as the treasurer. Dr. King, of course, is special to many of us, but to me, his voice, and I'm not talking about the words that he spoke, I'm also talking about the way he carried his voice in such a way that people listened, right? And that always stuck with me. I remember my first year in college, I had a speech class, and I did Dr. King's "I Have a Dream" speech, okay? And I think I was really close to impersonating him because of the way I came across. But he's taught me along the way, although he was unfortunately killed before I was born. But he was someone that could speak out and people would listen, right? And I think I've carried that message along the way in my own walk of life. So I have to pay tribute to him for that.
Why did you decide to become engaged in community advocacy work?
So, I've been civically engaged for a long time, mentoring youth and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, there are folks that don't necessarily have a voice, but they need a voice. And because I have a voice, I decided to get involved, all right? And that goes right back to what I've learned from Dr. King. So the decision wasn't a tough decision to get involved. I've always been outspoken, except for one time in church when I was a little boy and had to do an Easter speech. But since then, I've always been outspoken, willing to stand up, willing to give those that don't necessarily have a voice. And of course, folks like Dr. King, they lost their lives so that we could have opportunity and representation. And I've got to respect that by doing my part.
We all rise on the shoulders of those who came before us. In a time when few of those people are politicians, I know we both admire the late Representative John Lewis. What will you do on town council to bring some of his good trouble?
Yeah, good trouble. There's a lot of trouble in this world, right? But if you can cause a little good trouble, then we'll all be in a better place. Too often we find ourselves, particularly here lately, in a very large state of division, right? And that's not good. Okay, that's bad trouble, right? So, in my mind, good trouble is, again, speaking up for those that can't speak for themselves, and also making sure that people hear what needs to be heard. Okay. In some cases, you may find yourself not wanting to speak up because there may be some repercussions down the road. But if you don't speak up, you haven't done your job, right? So I admire those that can do that can have the courage to say what others may want to say, but choose not to say. So, I may find myself getting in trouble because I'm trying to start good trouble, but that's okay, because that's why I'm here. Okay, I was placed here for a reason, and that's to speak out, and I will continue to do that.
There are many projects that are important for the town's future. What are your priorities as the representative for Ward 1?
Well, the first priority, of course, is preserving the Gullah presence here on Hilton Head. Okay, it's so critical at this point that we make sure that we put forth an intentional effort to preserve those that are left here on Hilton Head. Those that have been on Hilton Head for many generations. All right, and in a lot of cases are overlooked. That piece of Hilton Head's soul is not told, and in a lot of cases not respected. So we need to do a better job with that. Of course, I've got a long list of platform items, but for today, as I answer that question, unity is one of my priorities. Okay, we've got to be unified as a community. Okay, of course, as a nation and as a people, but Hilton Head is too small of a place with too many good people for us not to have a unified understanding and a unified message and accomplish our goals in a unified manner. Okay, we should not have folks on different sides of the room fighting on our issues, but instead we come to a compromise. We come to a point where we all feel good about decisions that we're making. Okay, so to me, that's a priority, is to bring us together.
You and I have worked on a few projects together. Could you give us a brief update on what's going on with US 278 and the Sandalwood community, please?
Sure. I'll start with the 278 Gateway Corridor. Many know that this project has been before us for a few years now, potentially coming to some completion in terms of decision of if it's going to happen or not and what it's going to look like. It will affect each and every one of us on Hilton Head, okay? Not just the folks in the Stony community. Our way of life, the character of Hilton Head will be changed due to this project. So therefore, it's our job as policymakers and leaders of the community to make sure that every voice is heard.